What's up guys, welcome back to today's video. I hope you're doing well and having a very good day. Today's video, I will take my time to explain how to make your blazer with vent and welt pocket. I already have a video on my channel on how to make different kinds of welt pocket. I'll encourage you to watch that video so that you know how this welt pocket is made. Then for the vent of my jacket, I'll take my time to explain bit by bit on how I made it. So I already have a video of the drafting of this pattern and I put it up. The link will be in description if you want to take your time to watch it so you can understand how I came up to this level. Alright, so today we'll be using a sequin fabric and we'll also use a black satin to add some beauty to this jacket. You don't want to miss how I made this jacket, and that's why I'm bringing you this video with so much excitement. Now on my table here, I've displayed all the components I'll be using to make today's video. I'll encourage you to take your time to understand each of these components, and to further do this you need to watch that video of the pattern drafting carefully. Okay, so first I have all my patterns displayed here, but let me just sort them out and display them one after the other so that you understand how I came up to this level. Okay, so here I have my center front pattern. This center front is where your collar and lapel falls in. Okay, and I'm using my sequin. I've cut out this sequin for the center front and I fused my interfacing on the wrong side of this sequin. It's very important to fuse this interfacing here because it gives it some firmness and a very good finish. To fuse your interfacing here, ensure you place your interfacing on the wrong side of the sequin and iron on the interfacing. Don't iron on the sequin, else you may just ruin it a bit. You know, it doesn't like so much hot iron, you know what I mean. So once you've done this aspect, you need to also fuse your interfacing on the satin, which will be the inner layer of our blazer. So I fused this from the collar down to the lapel and to the bottom of this inner piece. So which implies that we've cut two pieces of our lining, which is the turn up or the facing for the blazer, and we cut two pieces of the sequin as well. Now this one is our side front, the side that falls on the two sides by the armhole of our blazer. Okay, and we cut two pieces of this side front and two pieces of the sequin as well. So just ensure that your lining is 1 inch shorter than your sequin for each of this pattern you're cutting. Okay, and to achieve that, just cut on the seam allowance that is at the bottom of your pattern. Okay, so on this seam allowance, just cut your lining from that point, but while cutting the sequin, you cut in full. This is the center back pattern where we created our vents. Please watch the video of the pattern drafting. It will help you understand this pattern very well. This is the center back and I've cut two pieces of the sequin and one piece of the lining for this part. Just because of the vent, I'm going to show you how to close that up when we start sewing. For our center back on the left side of our pattern, I cut this one. That is where the vent digs in. Okay, so just cut one piece of that, just the lining. Now these are the pieces I will use for my welt pocket. I just cut that out. I want to give it a touch of black satin, and this will be for the pocket bag. I already showed you how to make the welt pockets in my previous video. Just take your time to watch that video and you will understand how the single welt, double welt and welt with flap are made. They are very easy to make. Okay, so this one is a side back and I've cut the sequin 2 pieces. This is the side back lining and it's 2 pieces as well. So for our sleeve, we'll be using our 2-piece sleeve. This is the top sleeve and we also have the bottom sleeve. So these two, I got 2 pieces of the bottom sleeve and 2 pieces of the lining for the bottom sleeve. Then for the top sleeve as well, I got 2 pieces of the sequin and 2 pieces of the lining. The link to the 2-piece sleeve pattern drafting will be in description. Please watch thoroughly so you understand how I came about all these patterns I'm using for this video. Now we need to sew these components together, so I'll just run through the sewing. If you want to have the details of how I join each step of these components, I already have a video of the blazer sewing on my channel. You can just refer to that video to get the detailed explanation, but if you keep an eye closely, you'll see how I join each of these components on today's video. Okay, so we need to first join all the sequin, that's the main fabric, together. Then we'll now join the lining together separately before we now merge both of them to form our blazer. Just keep a very close attention and see how I sew bit by bit. Then I'm going to explain to you in details how I created the back vent. Okay, just keep watching. To iron out all the seam lines, just to have it flat and nice before we continue sewing. So just iron out all these points nicely, flatten them out and iron out. When you're done with that, then you go ahead and join the shoulders. Just remember that you have your collar running at the top of the shoulders. Just join on that point on both shoulders. Hold the 2 collar, that's at the top end of your collar. Just hold that and join them as well. At this point, your blazer is almost ready. What you need to do now is to align your collar, that's the midpoint of that collar, to your center back on the neckline. Just align that neckline. You can pin it in place if you want. Just sew from there. You're going to sew from there all the way around the neckline. Then you're going to sew down to the shoulder and you're going to stop just at that end. Okay, so you're going to just sew that way, all the way down. Once you've done that, your front piece will just be left with just the sleeves to be attached. Done with the sequin, we move over to the lining, and this is where the little trick comes in at the vent. Now we've just done our side front and center front. Remember our facing for the side and center fronts, just the same way we did the sequin, so there's not much difference with that. Then the sleeve as well, you do the lining same way you did on the sequin. Now on the back pattern, it's going to be a little bit tricky. This is our center back for the left hand side, and this is our center back for the right. You can see they look different, a bit different. Okay, so what we need to do here is to align our neckline. This is the neckline for one of the pieces, and this is the neckline for the other one. So just align them, and we're going to sew at the center front seam, just there. Okay, so this is how the bottom of the vent looks like on the lining. So just sew and stop exactly at that point. When we've done that, we'll now attach our side back to both sides of this pattern. Let's just sew from that point on the side back. Then I'll show you how to place it on the sequin. Subscribed already? Please subscribe now and tap the notification bell so you don't miss out on my other videos. If you've watched up till this point, that means you're enjoying the video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Now this is what the back vent looks like. Okay, so what we need to do now is to align these points. Just on that point, we're going to align those 2 points together. Then you sew up to that end. You get to that point, then you're going to leave your needle in and turn over to the right hand side, folding that edge as well. Then you align it on the top of the vent, just on that end. Sequin is almost ready, as you can see. And I've done same on my lining. Just follow the same pattern, same format, exactly what we did on the sequin. We're going to replicate same on our lining with our facing at the front. Then at the back, we need to finish up the vent. Okay, so I left off 10 inch on that point to turn our blazer inside out. So now on that back pattern, let's finish up the vent so that we can join the lining to the sequin. Okay, so what I basically did here was just to sew the lining exactly how I did the sequin. Then I just ironed that to flatten out the seam. So this is how the back of our blazer will look like. That's on the vent. So what you do here is to place this like so. Just sew from that center front down to the bottom. Then you're going to turn gently as well and sew to the end of that vent and closing with your back stitch. When you've done that, we're going to lift our shoulders. We're going to lift the shoulders of this blazer. Okay, so on this point, you either use a fusible fleece or shoulder pads to create that effect on the shoulder line. So I've done one of them and I'm going to show you how I did it on the second one. So I used fusible fleece. You can use interfacing or fusible fleece, any one you have available. Just fold that like so into two, and you're going to fold it again just to have like a little piece that will look more like a shoulder pad, but just on like a strip really. So when you've folded that, you're going to place it at the shoulder line. That's just on top of your shoulder by the armhole. You're going to place that and you pin it in place. Just pin it at the middle there and you sew it from front to back. This will lift your shoulder a bit and give it that tailored fit. Nicely to flatten out the seam. Then place your sequin vent, flatten it out, and you're going to pin and you're going to pin that to the left side of your bodice. That's on the back bodice. To ensure that it's flattened well, just give a little notch on that point. Okay, just make a little notch and flatten out your seam on that vent. Then when you've done that, you're going to sew from the end to the start of your vent. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? So this is your vent for your sequin. When you place that, you move that to the left side of your bodice. Then you're going to pin on that end and sew it down to the bodice. That's what the front will look like. Now it's time to place the lining on your blazer. Just place the lining on the sequin and close up that point here. You're going to close up this vent. So to do that, you just place the vent like so. Align that together on that point. Align that and sew from that point to the end of this vent. Just close up that vent. Then continue from there and sew this as well to this part of the vent. Sew on the other side of the vent as well, down to the bottom, but make sure you leave out about 0.25 inch allowance on that end, just to help you turn up your lining. So don't sew to the end. So that's 0.25 or half inch, then you stop just there. Do now, after sewing the vent, is to join up the sleeves. And to do this, you place your sequin with the right side up. Then on the lining, you're going to place the right side facing the right side of the sequin. Okay, so the wrong side will be facing you. Now what you need to do is to align the two sleeves. And to achieve this, just put your hands through the armhole of your sequin and pass that same hand through the armhole of your lining. Okay, so put that way, and you're going to align the two of them. Okay, align that, then flip it out that way. Then you're going to sew. Okay, so align those points, those edges, and sew on the wrist. When you do that, you do same on the other sleeve. Sleeves are sorted, we'll just go around we'll just sew around the blazer, and the garment is almost ready. So what we need to do here now is to sew from the bottom. We just align those two, that's from the vent. We'll align the blazer and the lining at the bottom. Remember the 0.25 we left out on that bottom, that's where we're going to sew from. So you sew from that point, just ensuring that all the edges meet. sewing the bottom first because of our 1 inch hemming allowance we left on the bottom. So if you start with the bottom, the blazer will fall in place. By the time you've sewn the bottom and just turn it, you will be able to fold off your 1 inch hemming allowance. Here we have our 1 inch hemming allowance. You just fold that off. That's on our center front, then we'll pin that in place. So we're going to sew that way, that way. Align the shoulders, align the neckline. So that's your collar. You align that, then you're going to sew all the way to the other side. So basically just sewing round your jacket. Now we'll turn this inside out through the vent we created on the back pattern of the lining. When we've turned that, before we now finish off the vent. When you turn it out, give it a very good press, and you should have the right side looking like that. That's the front. So that's what your back should look like. You can make a top stitch all around the edge like so. Just make a top stitch if you wish, or if you don't want, you can just leave it like that. Just give it a good press and it will fall in nicely. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions or suggestions, pop them in the comments for me and I'll respond as quickly as I can. Don't forget to tag me on Facebook and Instagram when you make your blazer, and I look forward to seeing your beautiful creations. Until then, be good. Kindly subscribe to my channel if you've not subscribed already, and turn on all notifications. Give this video a thumbs up if it was interesting. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.